Actually, Haman says he will give the king 10,000 talents, basically, to let him kill all the Jews.
Talents? I'm still looking for one talent. That's dope.
Well, the king tells
10,000
him to keep them, so maybe he
magic.
knew
It's like, you'll be
his
good at
talents weren't
guitar.
that desirable.
You can do math good. Lots of talents, man.
His
Lots, the
his
best
talents weren't
talents.
that exciting. It was like Haman had won a couple of those stick pony competitions.
Hobby horse competition.
Hobby
You
horse.
will fucking air guitar, dude.
You can keep your talents, all right? Just go kill the Jews for me. Hello and welcome to another episode of Growing Up Christian. I'm Casey.
I'm Sam.
I'm Jeremiah.
And we owe a big deal of congratulations to Sam this week for starting his new job.
Yeah, dude, it's been a trip. So 10 years in the retail world. I was a fulfillment manager for, I think, 6 years. And then also fulfillment is something that people didn't really, I feel like you would like tell people what that is. And they were like, what fulfillment? Explain that. And then Amazon Prime became the biggest thing of all time. And it was like, everyone knows what fulfillment is now. Fulfillment by Amazon. But yeah, anyway, who cares? So I did that for like 6 years, and then I've just been in like whatever logistics, operations kind of bullshit. And you sit in a cube, you look at a computer, and you hate your life. And I've only been in a school for 2 days because I worked Monday and Tuesday, and then it was Thanksgiving break. So it was like, first of all, that's dope. Like, I'm already really into the school schedule thing. You working 2 days and having a 5-day weekend was really cool. But it is dude, it feels so different. It's very strange to like, I mean, one, it's so new, and my whole intention of doing this was like working with older kids, and I'm in an elementary school for the time being. So it's like, it's different than what I was intending to do, but it is in my field and there is a lot of overlap. So I do really like it, and I'm really excited about it. Not a whole lot to report after just 2 days, other than like, it's just the working in a school is such a completely different world than corporate retail. It's kind of mind boggling. In I feel like any corporate job you get, you're like, okay, here's your training period. We train you, and then we'll slowly give you more and more work, whatever. It's like, there's no like, my boss is the principal. There's no like real training. It's just like, so here's where you'll sit. All right. Well, guess we'll see you later. And you're like, oh, okay. So like, there's one other adjustment counselor there. So I like talk to him and try to get a good idea of like what's going
Why
on.
don't you take a test lap with this kid? Nobody likes him anyways.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's like. That's what it's like. They're like, at the end of my first day, I went down to talk to the principal and was just like, just to talk about how my first day went, and it was great. Like, she seems amazing. We talked for like 45 minutes, and she kind of just went through a list of kids to keep on my radar. It's like, here's the kid. This is the issues.
Sort of a red flag list.
Yeah, right. Here it's like, this is what's going on with the families. I mean, it's also crazy because you're dealing with 5, 6, 7-year-olds, and it's like some dark shit too. It's like, so this kid, their mom just, they're all in a homeless shelter now, so they're trying to figure out how to get to school, and it's just like, it's really fucked up stuff that some of these kids are going through, and really tough to figure out like how to handle kids who are going through these, who are having behavioral issues due to some of these extreme circumstances that some of them are going through. But either way, like, it was cool. Like, you had that good conversation, got an idea of, so the next day it was like, I sat in their classrooms, talked to their teachers. But dude, it's really like, corporate world is like, you don't know what you're like. They kind of grow you into the position they want you to do, at least in my experience and what I've done. And this is like, you're just kind of like, I don't know, you fucking parachute into the middle of a battlefield. It's like fucking Fortnite. You just drop right into a
Oh man, you're already relating to the kids. Good job,
yeah,
Sam.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, do the dance, the
Yeah,
floss
I
or
know.
whatever.
I heard the youth
Emotes, gotta
pastor
get my
turn on in
emotes
your head.
down. See, kids, it's a lot like Fortnite. I don't know, but I love it. So tomorrow, I'll wake up and get to my first day of a full week, and we'll see. But it's really like you kind of got to make a lot of it yourself. As an adjustment counselor, my role is to do a lot of direct services. So they're like, here are some kids you could potentially work with. But it's a lot of working with teachers and kind of getting an idea of like which kids really need the direct services. So the phone that's on my desk is what someone else was using for a while, and the woman who was there was like using. They would call her if they're having issues in their classroom, like, "Hey, this kid's acting up. We kind of need some help with that." And that won't be my role generally, but while I'm trying to get to know students, get to know teachers, the phone would ring, I'd pick it up and be like, "Look, I'm happy to help." So that was helpful, get to know a lot of the students already that I'll probably be working with, and gets to know some of the teachers. But it's going to be like, I don't know, I guess I kind of have to carve my own path, and people just are expecting that, and then you just tell people what you're doing and they're like, okay, cool, good, like, let's hope it works, because these kids
Hey,
are disrupting the class,
you
and
know
if they
what?
do that less, then you're doing a good job. If they're not, we question your validity. And you're like, okay.
Well, I mean, I'm glad to hear that there's not a real formal outline for how we handle people's children.
Yeah. And oh, did you get what's crazy, I get you can't hit them anymore, I guess. So I don't know, man. I'm really
You're like,
when
this career change
once
is
they
not
told me
working
that, I'm
out.
like, well, how do you expect me to get them to fucking listen?
Yeah. I think you're gonna have to experiment with like other forms of punishment.
I don't know.
More
Like
psychological.
Forced feedings, yeah, I was thinking that might be helpful.
how about the pokey, like the trench bowl?
Yeah, Miss Trenchable?
It's just like a sharp closet that you lock them in,
Yeah.
sort of like the Iron Maiden.
Yes,
Maybe no, the spikes don't touch though. Like there's some gap in between, but you
right.
just got to stand real
They
still.
just exactly, they gotta not move.
Yeah.
Some ideas. Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of good ideas. It's funny because I was, late to getting on, this recording here because I'm trying to get my kids to bed, and sometimes children don't listen, and I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, these are the times that I think I I didn't get out of bed when I was 7 years old because I knew I would get spanked if I did. The fear of violence kept me in bed. I don't do that to my kids, so they
It's
walk
not
all
working
over
out,
me
is
apparently.
it?
Yeah, it sounds ineffective.
But I just think about how, like, oh my god, like it's you get why parents resort to that. Like I don't I don't personally believe in it, but it's effective in the short term. It fucking works. And you can argue how that might affect your relationship with your parents long term. Maybe I could be a case study for that. I don't know, but either way. Uh
Yeah, well, you and every child up until what, 1996?
Up until now, like millennials are like the
Like
first
literally
generation that
everyone.
majority don't spank their kids, I'm guessing.
We'll see how it works out.
We
I
will.
can tell you I don't like a lot of their kids. There's
Well,
that.
that's
I
because
mean,
their name's like Declan and shit like that.
Declan, Fern.
Yeah. Sorry to
Oh,
anyone who named their child Declan.
Sorry
I'm
to the
happy for
child's
you.
We
I
lost a
mean,
fan or two. I'm guessing there's probably 2 people who listen to the podcast with a child named Declan, and I guess this is our farewell episode to you. But
or there's 16 kids named Riley, but it's spelled with like 12 letters
yeah, yeah.
somehow.
You
Rileuggieh or something.
Yeah.
RYE dash LEIGH.
His name is Peyton and the X is silent. I'm happy for you, man. That
Thanks.
is that is a lot of kids. I know that's what you want to do. I'm not sure that I wouldn't rather be like sprinting around an Amazon warehouse with a full diaper.
Yeah.
I think I'm on Casey's side there.
Pissing in bottles.
Oh man.
And incidentally, that's how you treat your employees. So
Yeah, right, right. Don't leave your van until you get to a dealer, or just. So my dad always used to say that you weren't a true salesman for the company until you had until you had taken a dump in the back of your van in a box, like in a
okay,
traffic jam.
nice. So you know things about your dad that I don't know about mine.
Your dad has definitely pooped in a box before. Everything I know about your dad, I would say that that's probably a factor. But my dad definitely has, yeah. I have. I mean, show of hands. I have as
I
a person
haven't.
in this room.
I can't relate to this. I'm sorry.
I can't. I pooped in the woods once.
Once.
Only once. Yeah.
Well, Jeremiah, you had to poop in the woods a whole bunch because weren't you like a junior squirrel trooper or
Right,
whatever?
right. In Royal Rangers, no, you have to dig the poop hole. Oh, no, when we lived in the
The
camper
tread
for
shovels for a reason.
yeah, that was always pretty normal. When we lived in the camper for a couple years, I did pee outside probably 80% of the time, though.
Dude is the lazy kid in the troop, like dig a shallow grave for his turd, and then somebody steps in it.
It's like 5 feet outside of camp, just scooping a little trout.
They rip the latrine badge off of his vest.
I don't think there's a latrine badge.
There's a, how do you get that? What's the latrine badge, Casey?
Digging good. Well, I mean, there is a lot that goes into digging a good latrine. You could make a latrine badge. I just don't think anyone would.
It's more of a boo if you don't, fine if you do. Like you don't get recognized for digging a good latrine. I think is the standard of service, right?
I think there's absolutely no chance that I would have dug a deep enough hole if I was doing that.
Why would you have just like given up midway through because it felt
Yes.
dumb?
No, I would have been like, because I would have waited. I'd be like, oh, I really have to go. Let me start digging. I'm like, fuck it. Too late. Just barely get it underground level.
He just poops on the trail.
You sprinkle a little dirt on top of it afterwards.
You're that kid. You're that kid who like shows up to the camping trip with like just a backpack and like 2 bags of Cheetos and is so
Yes.
unprepared for everything.
Absolutely. Wait, we need a tent? I thought someone else had that.
He's digging his shelter right next to the latrine.
The kid that's like just laying just like on the floor of the tent with nothing because his parents didn't realize they had to send him with a sleeping bag. So he's just like covering himself with his backpack.
He's using his jeans rolled up as a pillow.
And meanwhile, I'm like, God, I like roughing it. I mean, I did this on purpose.
We would
I
have
would have a
definitely
great
gotten
time
along.
until like I feel like young me would have a great time until like 11 o'clock, and then I probably would have freaked out and like demanded to go home.
There
I
was
kind of
those
went through a
kids.
stage where I did that.
Yeah,
Like
there were kids who did that. Yeah.
I feel like I still am like, I mean, up until late age, if I was going somewhere, I would still underpack and just be like, I'm fine. I'll be fine. I'll sleep on the floor somewhere. And at some point in my life, I realized that sleeping on the floor at my age is like awful. It like fucks you up for weeks on end. But
I
I made that choice consciously for a while. I went to a LAN party a couple of times where, like in Pennsylvania, drive like 8 hours and go to a LAN party with my friend, and it was like a free for all on sleeping arrangements. And it's just like, fuck it, I'll just sleep on the floor. Like you throw a flannel over you and you lay out prostrate, like, and you wake up the next morning feeling like absolute shit. You're like, what am I doing? I'm not 17 anymore. I can't do this. And this was still like probably almost 10 years ago.
would you
can't
rather
relate to.
sleep on?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Jeremiah.
I can't relate to that so hard. I don't think I've ever been on a trip where I've worn everything I've packed. Like I always overpack on everything, like backup versions of everything. Like
Me
we can go
too.
for a weekend and there's like 4 duffel bags going in the truck. I'm like, no
Yeah.
matter what happens, I'm gonna be fine. But yeah, it really sucks when you're trying to like pack light for like a flight or something. Can't do it.
I packed light for a while. I feel like now I'm at a point where I overpack a bit now. Now when I went to visit you, Casey, I didn't, because I'm like, I'm not paying for checked luggage, so I I underpacked that weekend. But generally, if it's driving distance and I'm like, I can, like, whatever. Like what who cares? Might as well just fill a suitcase with everything I own so I can decide what I want to wear that day and not be stuck on what I packed like a total loser.
I overpack so hard, and April and I both do. We take so much luggage with us whenever we go anywhere. And like I constantly like overthink like the things that we could possibly fit into a trip. So like the amount of times that I've
Well, I
packed
might
like
need a bow and arrow. Who knows?
right, like if we're driving, I probably have like a shovel and an axe in the car. Because I was just like, well, I don't know. I mean, what if we got stuck somewhere? It's like we're going to Kansas City. Like, where would
What
we
if
get
we hit
stuck?
another guy trying to cross the road? We need to bury the body. I mean, a lot of possibilities here of things that could go wrong, and you never know what you need.
Well, okay. So, speaking of packing a bag, there was a big controversy this past week. You guys have heard of Balenciaga, the luxury clothing brand?
That is all I know about it.
Um, I didn't even know what the clothing. You had just asked me about it, uh, and I didn't know what it was, so I Googled it and realized it was a clothing brand. But that was the first I heard of it, and then I saw some weird, goofy shit come up, and then we decided to save that. So I don't really know anything about this. I didn't even know they were
You guys
clothes.
don't know. So, Jeremiah, you said you guys don't either of you know anything
No,
about
I
this.
had never
No,
heard of this before.
I know that Balenciaga is a clothing brand, like one of those uppity luxury fashion brands. That's all I know. I have no idea what's going on.
Recently dissolved their partnership with Kanye West.
Oh,
Okay,
okay, that makes sense.
We literally can't go an episode without mentioning him. He fits into every story somehow.
almost like it's a conspiracy.
Well, conspiracy wise, Balenciaga, I feel like the name rang a bell when I first heard about it. I would have guessed that it was something in that like luxury fashion brand or something, but um in the past like week or so here, they unveiled their 2023 spring line of clothes and accessories and stuff like that. And in one of the ads for their object lines, they had several pictures of like young kids, maybe like 4 or 5, holding these bears. They're like teddy bears, neon colored teddy bears, dressed in like BDSM gear.
What?
Yeah, it's strange.
Wait,
And
how
it
is
turns
this
out that,
related to clothing?
well, so the bears are actually like handbags that they sell. It's like a teddy bear with a strap on it that you can carry
With a
around.
strap on it.
Very close.
Yeah.
Everything except the stud, you know.
Oh
They
god.
had like they were like in like leather daddy outfits. Like they had the collars on and the straps and there was some fishnet involved.
Mr.
Yeah, I'm
Sloth.
looking at the pictures. It's not great. It definitely somebody should have known when they were approving these photos.
What I couldn't figure out
How do
like
they
I
relate this back to Epstein is my question.
well, just give it a second.
No way! Of course.
So yeah, so it's like a couple of pictures. It's really only 2 pictures that this popped up in, but it's like 2 young kids. I think they're both little girls, and they're holding these bear bags that are in this weird sort of gear. Like it's the sort of thing that like I don't know. I mean, if you would have done the pictures with an adult, it's just so another weird designer fashion
Mhm.
thing that's kind of stupid that no one would ever use in real life,
Yeah,
you
what
know?
is this stuff? I mean, I feel like when you see like when you look at even Kanye stuff where he has like the giant boots or like have you seen the one what was the
The Napoleon Dynamite boots.
yeah, or the outfit where he's like in a completely silver like it looks like he's in like a silver space blanket.
Yeah, I
It's
really
like
don't
no
get
one's
this like high
wearing this
fashion stuff.
stuff.
I
So
think
who
it's
like
supposed to be like celebrities wear the really out there fashion stuff, and then that trickles down like styling elements into their more normal clothes, like their regular high end mass produced stuff, and then that trickles down like into fast fashion. That's
Somebody
how it's
watched
been
The Devil
interpreted.
Wears Prada with Anne Hathaway.
I actually did for the first time I think this year or late last year.
wow, late to the
Knowledge
game
is
on that one.
fresh.
But yeah, but I mean I had never understood either until I don't think it was that movie. I think I read it somewhere and it made sense after that of like, oh, well obviously only like a celebrity would wear this to the Met Gala, but then you might see that pattern show up somewhere else. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
you're a
that's
guy
on
that
the
wears
right
black
track.
T-shirts every time I've talked to you, so it's hard to know what
I
you
mean,
like.
I used to dress very stylishly, and then I started working from home and gained weight. So
You
I
have a
found a black
mysterious look.
yeah, I found a black T-shirt that fit me really well, and I got 10 of them, and I've been really
He's
comfortable ever
he's
since.
rocking that Bankman free drip.
You like, given your background, your dark background, you basically look like a floating head. I don't know for sure if you have a body. I guess I'm gathering that you do, but I don't know for sure.
It's
I've
like
never
face
seen
bones.
It's called fashion. Look it up.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of this stuff, I mean, a big part of it, I think, is just like weird collector's item garbage. Like, I don't know,
Right.
ugly sneakers or weird handbags or whatever else, you know. But I guess it'd be almost considered like an art piece of some sort, depending
Do
on
these
who's
handbags
talking about it.
come with like it comes with like that's how it is, right? Like you buy it as this bear with the leather shit on it. Like that's how they sell
I
it.
think the toddlers put that
Or
on
do you
there.
dress them up? Is it like a Build-A-Bear? You go in and you pick out outfits for your
I
bag.
don't think they got that far into explaining it because that probably would have been when someone would have been like, "Wait a second,
Yeah, build a gimp.
this."
Well, I mean, I look when I brought my son when he turned 5 into a Build-A-Bear workshop, he was very pissed that we made him get the Pikachu and not the leather daddy outfit. He had a preference, and I was like, "No, that's too much. You're just too young for that. Wait till you're 6."
Oh, repressive parenting. Yeah,
Yeah,
at least you didn't hit him, I guess.
yeah.
So, there's these pictures of kids with these teddy bears, which I don't know, it's weird. It's especially at first glance, you're like, it's like, why?
For the argument
Right.
against like the leftists, the liberals. I don't know anything about Balenciaga, but the liberals are like grooming the children. That's one of those where you look at it, you're like, guys, this isn't a good look.
Yeah,
Like even
don't
if it's not
add
what it looks
fuel to
like,
the fire.
right? Like, but you're really they're gonna eat good off of those two images for a really long time.
Is Balencia the part of the liberal elite?
I don't know. I'm assuming
Sure.
they're kind of right wing capitalists that use like child labor to sew their clothes, but I could be wrong.
I'd imagine you're not. I don't know
I
if there's a
imagine that
wrong when it
there's a
comes to
pretty
that.
low crossover between like Silverado owners and Balenciaga enthusiasts. Like that Venn diagram is just two separate circles.
Yeah. Well, until recently, there wasn't much of a crossover between literally anything Kanye did and people who also own Silverados until, I don't know, a handful of sentences dropped down.
And
Otherwise,
Jesus brings people together. I
yeah,
think
they're
that's what
like,
you're saying.
maybe probably couldn't name a single song from his back catalog and at some point told people that that's the problem with music.
Well, I think personally, okay, so uh, this this woman that April and I watch on YouTube, she's super funny. Her name, she goes by Shoe on Head.
Oh yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she has some like hilarious videos. We always watch whatever she puts out, but she's been pretty outspoken about like I don't know the weird mainstreaming pedophilia stuff, which really isn't mainstream. I guess that's not a good word for it, but like there's like this small group of people who are trying to kind of like destigmify pedophilia and minor. They call themselves MAPS, minor attracted persons.
Oh, it's like Nambla shit,
Yeah, yeah. So
but
she's gone
rebranded.
pretty hard against them.
I didn't realize
Uh,
that that was even a thing that people were
Well,
trying
it's a
to re.
very, very small thing. Like Casey said, the
yeah,
only thing I've seen that's a little bit bigger is the people who are like, well, we need to study and help these people who don't want to offend, which that gets into like a more complicated moral discussion. But like there is that group of people that very much is pedophilia is, of course, wrong. The whole point of studying this would be to prevent people from offending. And then there's, I guess,
Hmm.
I'm not as familiar with what Casey is talking about, but a group of people that want to just reclassify it.
Celebrate offending. Yeah,
it's
that
like
seems like a
niche
totally different.
A-chan stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So
may or may not
Wait,
actually
wait.
all be trolling.
But if it's
yeah,
you're saying it's niche 8chan stuff, and I typically associate that with like weird conspiracy alt right kind of shit. So are these people from an alt right
I'm just
perspective?
throwing it out there. I was just looking for a weird internet subset to throw out.
Okay. So don't get too in the weeds about trying to make connections here, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
don't attach too much to my my analogies here.
I mean, I usually don't, so I'm sorry I did this one time.
So she went ahead tweets about the bear thing, right? Which is kind of like what breaks the
The
whole
Bear
thing
was a great
loose.
show, so I'm not
It
sure
was.
what the
It was.
problem
Yeah.
is.
The bear?
But the restaurant show.
Anyway, no,
It's a great show. You should watch it. We'll
it was
talk about
great.
it later. Sorry, we're just
Jeremiah
You're
got it.
derailing me. I got
You
notes
did.
here.
Keep
all
going.
right. Sorry, hit the notes. Hit the
Just
notes.
keep talking while I
So,
talk over you. It's not worth stopping.
so she mentions the bears, right? But then in the post talks about another factor of this. Like I said, the bears are kind of whatever. It's weird. Wasn't a good choice. Whatever, you know. But the second part of this thing is where it really kind of made me take a second look at all this stuff. So in another one of their photo shoot pictures, it's like a little handbag that's kind of shaped like a bow tie, and it's laying on top of a bunch of like papers and stuff, kind of like on a desk. So one of the papers that's visible under the handbag is an excerpt from a Supreme Court case called the U.S. versus Williams of 2008.
Come on. It
And
already feels like
This feels bad.
this is like the setup to a Matt Damon thriller.
well, so this court case is all about like virtual child pornography. It's a very weird story. It makes no sense as set dressing for a handbag, I'll tell you that. And court, pieced together with this other, with the teddy bears, and then one other thing which I'll get to in a second here. It just made it all the more like, what is going on? What are you guys doing? But
Yeah.
so the U.S. versus Williams. I'll give you the quick background of the case here. So child porn is not protected under the Second Amendment. Make a note of that if you need to.
The First Amendment.
First Amendment.
Okay, just clarifying. It's like
Depends
I
on
didn't
who's
think anyone thought it
exercising
was
their
covered.
Second Amendment.
Does not count as the right to bear
The
arms.
right to bear arms and your kids. Oh.
There's a few people
Now, not to be
in the
confused
southern
with the
United
right.
States protecting it with the Second Amendment, I think, but that's another niche group,
Not to be confused with the right to bear bags, which is what we're talking about.
Right to bear bags.
We're
So
right on the line tonight. Right on the line.
So child porn not protected under the First Amendment.
Also, I feel like
And-
we ought to just say also not good.
Yeah,
And
It's also-
also not good, right?
Okay, now we can keep making
There's a
jokes
legal
to our
distinction
heart's
there.
content.
Where things get shifty is when you're talking about like artwork, computer generated images, or adults that are purposely, dressing or acting and stuff to look like children.
right.
Right. So that is still allowed, but if a child is being harmed, that's where the line is drawn, right? So there's this guy named Michael Williams. He's some jerk off, and he's in a chat room online. He starts talking to a guy who he thinks is just another pervert, but it turns out it's a Secret Service agent. And he says, "Hey, I got pictures of my daughter being molested. Would you like to trade them for some other child pornography, please?" And
That's the CIA agent saying that.
to a Secret Service agent.
It's like, how bold? How like on the nose can you be?
I'm sure there was probably some preamble to the conversation, but this Michael Williams guy saying this to someone he believes is another person on there. It turns out it's a Secret Service
agent. Crazy.
He then sends a link to a website that it's like a photo album or something like that has 7 images of children engaged in sexual activity. It says between the ages of 5 and 15.
Jesus Christ.
So the Secret Service frowns upon that. They decide that they're going to go after this guy. They get a search warrant. They go to his house, wherever it is. I didn't catch where this guy lived, but they turn his house upside down and find 2 hard drives. And on those hard drives are 22 images of child exploitation material. And I'm guessing that there was probably a lot of stuff on these hard drives, but there was 22 images that are without a doubt against the law, right? So they charge this guy with 1 count of possession of child pornography and 1 count of pandering child
He's lucky he
pornography.
got. I don't even want to say lucky. I don't. How do you get 1 count? I thought every image was a count.
I don't know how any of our legal system works. It never makes sense and nothing adds up.
I think that's what makes it the best in the world, right?
I think
You can
so.
choose your own adventure for legal antics,
Hey, second only to our healthcare system, right?
which is
Second to nothing.
working great for me right now.
So pandering, like basically the definition of pandering in this context is knowingly offering or soliciting content believed to contain child exploitation material. Right? So the simple act of asking for it or telling someone that you have it is considered a crime.
Oh,
So
interesting.
so this guy pleads guilty to both charges, right? But he reserves the right to dispute the pandering charge on the grounds that it violates his First Amendment rights because it's too broad and it's too vague, which violates his Fifth Amendment rights, which is like due process or whatever. Um, and then he takes it higher, right? So he goes to the district court, loses there, takes it up a notch, and goes to the appeals court where it's reversed. He wins that case.
Oh, wow.
And this jerk off makes it all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States,
When did this
arguing
happen again?
about pandering. This is 2008 when it made it to the Supreme Court.
Okay.
So his whole thing was like, hey, this pandering as a charge is ridiculous and it shouldn't be the case. This guy had child pornography and he's documented on there asking for it and bragging about having it, right? So this all comes down to this thing called the Protect Act, which stands for the prosecutorial remedies and other tools to end the exploitation of children today. Shout out to the Federal Bureau of Acronyms.
Yeah, no shit.
Which is like this sweeping act
It's
that
like the longer those acronyms are, the more like on the edge of your seat you are when someone starts explaining it. You're like, ooh, are they going to sink it?
right. There's a lot of articles in there that didn't make it into the acronym.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like this sweeping act that just gave law enforcement a lot more leeway to like go after people who are hurting children, right? One of which is it gave them a lot more freedom to prosecute the solicitation and distribution of child pornography. So the Supreme Court hears this guy's case and they vote 7-2 to uphold the Protect Act and basically slap this guy's case down. Basically citing that pandering doesn't violate the First Amendment and counts even if the person doesn't possess child pornography. So just saying that you do or asking for it, Supreme Court says, no, crime. You want to guess who the 2 judges were that voted against it?
Ah, my God. I feel like
Ruth
I can't
Bader
remember what
Ginsburg, of course, she'd be one.
Bingo.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, I was joking.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg and David H. Souter, which he doesn't get a lot of media hype, I guess. I don't know who he is.
Is he still one?
I don't know. Maybe he's dead. Let's hope he's dead.
Just to clarify, to make sure I didn't understand, Ruth Bader Ginsburg voted against upholding the Protect Act?
Yeah, she was concerned about the slippery slope that it presented.
God.
Ooh, that's not a good
First
look.
Amendment rights. And like I don't have a great picture of like what the alternate argument to this is, but I think it was like along the lines of like, okay, does this apply to all media? Like
Well,
if somebody writes a story which includes like descriptions of 2 teenagers having sex or something, like could that be considered, against the law or whatever? Because they were specifically Alito and his like retort to the whole thing mentioned like Romeo and Juliet and how like the chances of something like that being disputed under this clause are minimal, so it doesn't. Basically it was dismissed on those grounds.
Unlike everyone will use common sense and know the difference between actual child exploitation and Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
Okay.
That is exactly. Yes.
I can see that argument at least. Yeah.
Right, because it's not saying that under all circumstances, quote unquote, pandering will result in a criminal charge, because we know that pandering is used for like To Catch a Predator type shit. Like that shit's done regularly. So it's not saying that by upholding that you can or you will always prosecute any form of pandering. It's just that you have the ability to at your discretion, which
Yeah.
seems to make sense. I mean, sorry, REG, you've done fucked up on
I'm
that one.
peeling the bumper sticker off my window right now.
Maybe you should have retired before that one.
Not this again.
Okay, so interesting case, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure where
Are
this
you guys
connects
gonna
to
print it out?
BDSM teddy bears yet, but I'm on the edge of my seat. The
Well,
edge
okay.
lord of my
So
seat.
why would a person include a printed version of this Supreme Court decision in a photo shoot for a handbag?
To argue that this is free speech that shouldn't be censored, I'm guessing.
I guess. Maybe.
Casey's
Okay.
like,
Oh,
fuck, I
you
don't know
don't
where
have
to
the
go from
answer.
here.
Yeah, I thought you had more
He's-
after this. You were just spewing this out.
No, it's literally just like a page of this Supreme Court decision was positioned under the handbag in the photo shoot that
And it's
Balenciaga
definitely
did.
a real photo shoot, like real photo from the shoot, not something that's been doctored.
Nope, it's a real photo. And it's been taken down now. They've taken down like all of this stuff. And they actually deleted all of their social media.
Really?
Yeah, they
Okay.
deleted their Twitter, they deleted their Instagram.
They took their social media manager out back, shot them, put them in a ditch.
For real.
So like it's okay, it's a weird idea to put kids with bondage bears on your in your ad campaign.
I mean, I'll go as far as saying that that does seem a little perverted. I'll err on the side of perversion until I hear otherwise.
But then you pair it with the fact that, like, okay, we've got a Supreme Court case from 15 years ago about child pornography online, and you have it printed out and put on under your purse and your phone. Why do you have that?
I think
Why
everyone
is
becomes a
that
little bit
there?
of a conspiracy theorist on that one. Like,
Yeah, it's like, is there any obvious, sensible reason for it? No. Is there a direct good theory about
Art.
like
It's art,
why it's
Casey.
there? I mean, I guess it's somebody's idea of art.
I think that's what's fun about art is you can do really fucked up stuff and then be like, guys, it's art. I mean, don't go overboard here. What was it with God, Casey, you're gonna have to help me out here. Was it with the Epstein shit where there was someone who had all that really fucked up art of like people being mutilated and shit like that?
Yes. Okay. So if this is at all exciting or interesting to you, um,
you're going to want to look
Martyr
up
Made
QAnon.
podcast.
Oh,
Go to the Martyr Made podcast and listen to the whole Epstein series, but listen to episode 3 of his 3-part series on Epstein. And in it, one of the things that Daryl Cooper, who hosts it, does a really good job of is he really like goes the extra mile in trying to like fully understand the viewpoints of the people he's discussing and stuff, right? So in episode 3 of this Epstein thing, he breaks down like the whole Pizzagate conspiracy, which, you
That's
know,
right.
at a glance, like there's nothing to relate to there, and you're like, these people are insane. They think people are holding children in a pizza parlor. So it is insane, right? But during that whole process, like mapping that all out, he kind of lays out like what people latched onto that like led them to
Right.
those dumb
If you're a man
conclusions.
sitting in your basement, none of your children will talk to you anymore because you've gone so far off the wall. You're looking for meaning in your life and you've had a lot to drink. You find some stuff and it doesn't sound so unreasonable.
Yeah. I won't trace out the whole thing because it's a long deal, but basically it started with the leaked emails from Hillary Clinton's leaked emails during the 16 campaign. There was this weird connection to this Comet Pizza and Ping Pong in DC, and people started looking at like several different people that were in the emails or named in the emails or part of that whole thread, and like the Podestas, who have been like Washington insiders forever, came up a lot during this whole thing, and they're
That's right.
like big campaigners for Hillary Clinton. I forget, they run like a super PAC or something like that, but they have this art collection
It's like
that,
such deviant shit. It's really unsettling.
yeah, it's insane. And it's like so much of it involves like children in dangerous, violent, or sexual situations. It's bizarre, unsettling.
I think one of the artists said that an interview with one of the artists, she said that she was abused as a kid, and like a lot of that has to do with her like re-representing the feelings of being abused. Now, whatever, as an artist in your outlet, you do what you want, but when you're drawing really
Tony Podesta, like just
unsettling
collecting
images,
it and then
yeah,
posing next to it in like the New Yorker or whatever,
right,
like
yeah,
I
yeah,
enjoy this piece. Like, shut up, Tony.
yeah, exactly. It's like that you can get it, like, I feel like I don't know what the market is, like, I don't know what the market should be for that, but if you're just a guy who has a lot of money and you're like, "I
Some
just
rich
like to
white
hang this
guy.
in," they're always white. Name it if
I
you're
want
rich
to
and
I
white,
want to buy this
that's it.
expression of this poor abused woman's pain and hang it on my wall so I can talk about it during my like wine mixers.
Because I'm a silver
Head
spoon
out.
piece of shit who's never had real adversity in their lives, and I'd like to just revel in other people's.
Now, is he shoving babies into his Breville food processor? That might be a stretch.
But is he buying baby diarrhea and rubbing it on his face to look
Oh
young for a
gosh,
long time?
Sam.
Absolutely, he is. We can verify that as a
Sam is
fact.
That good
one step
green.
away from adrenochrome right now. You got to steer him away.
Dude, why didn't somebody spread that theory? Like the adrenochromes are in the tire.
Well, because they don't want to make it too accessible. So, like, Q idiots living in their trailer in the middle of nowhere could be like, wait, we have plenty of baby diarrhea. Like, that doesn't hurt the baby.
It doesn't hurt the baby, and it buys the baby formula.
Well, so Balenciaga, like the internet freaks out at Balenciaga. They take down these photos and stuff. Post some new photos of some of the items that in the collection and stuff. And this is where like it's like the Pizzagate thing where people just take stuff and run with it. Like one weird thing, and it's like, God, there it is. But like one of the images that they posted was a lady. She's in kind of like business attire. She's got her feet up on a desk full of papers, and in the background there's like a stack of books, and there's two books sitting there that are both from they're from two different artists, and one of them's named Michael Bormans, and the book is called Fire from the Sun, and it's a series of pictures of toddlers holding severed limbs and playing with dead bodies and in piles of blood. And
Jesus.
again, weird.
What
I don't know.
country is
Weird.
Balenciaga stationed in? Like, what?
Spain, I think.
Okay. It doesn't really help. I'm just wondering, like, is there some cultural divide we're not understanding? Like, if it was French, I might be like, okay, well, is this a weird French thing? I don't know.
The Spanish got pretty weird a few hundred years ago, Central America and stuff. They're capable. They're capable of it. But yeah, so the description for Fire from the Sun says Fire from the Sun includes small and large scale works that feature toddlers engaged in playful but mysterious acts with sinister overtones and insinuations of violence. It's
That is
literally like
somebody needs to
toddlers
write that
holding severed
description.
legs
Yeah,
covered
someone
in
needs to
blood.
write that description and then look at it and be like, wait, that's a red flag. Everything I just said is a giant red flag. Mysterious and sinister situations. Is that what they said? Like, you can't write that about a child and be like, wait a second, I might be on the wrong side of this one.
So the second book is by this artist named Matthew Barney, and it's called the Cremaster Circle. I don't know if I'm pronouncing Cremaster
It doesn't
correctly,
sound
but
good.
like there's the I don't know, one of the images, the title image or whatever, is like this guy. He's in white paint head to toe. His mouth is just covered in blood, and he's eating what looks like a piece of raw meat. And apparently, the cremaster muscle is what he's supposed to be eating, which is the muscle that retracts a man's testicles back up into his body.
Oh, you don't say.
It's just too much weird.
Yeah.
It's just too weird. Like, just give it a
I,
break for a second.
I feel like I've heard of people like having injuries
To their
where
cremaster.
yeah, I didn't know what the word for that. I didn't know the word, but where that muscle tightens up and it actually will retract like your testicle into your body, and you actually have to have like a surgery to get that to like release.
You have to your
That's a
coin purse will overheat.
yeah. I mean, it's a sidebar. I mean, it has nothing to do. It doesn't really matter. I'm learning, and I'm connecting what I'm learning
It's like if
to
you leave a
past
bag of
knowledge.
peanut M&Ms on
So
your dash in the summertime. That's what happens.
that very David Spade move of you.
So that's kind of the long and short of like the controversy. The internet's exploded like several times over it. They're like calling on stars and stuff to denounce Balenciaga. Like the Kardashians have a really close relationship with Balenciaga apparently, and people are like, denounce them, drop your contracts, blah 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 blah. You know, and so far it hasn't.
Not until
They
they say
haven't done
something anti-Semitic. Come on, we have standards in this country.
it. But uh Balenciaga, I mean, like I said, they had deleted all their social media and everything.
That is absolutely wild to
It's like the
delete
most
all of your.
unbelievable part.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like you're either 13 years old and you just like got caught doing something really embarrassing, or you're Balenciaga. Like I don't really know who else is deleting all their social media
That's
accounts.
like the cyanide pill in your tooth.
Yeah.
They have filed a $25 million lawsuit against the producers of the ads, which is North Six Incorporated is the studio that did the photo shoots and stuff, and then the set designer's name is Nicholas Desjardins. And so I like looked up both that set designer and the company that did the ads and
Mhm.
looked through a bunch of their content and stuff, and there's nothing in any of their other stuff that's even remotely like controversial or weird or even involves kids.
So
So I don't know.
Balenciaga is suing them. You're saying so they're like, we hired these people to do these ads. This is what they came up with, and they
We
missed.
signed off on it.
Yeah, yeah, they signed off on it. But what they're saying is, we didn't realize all this other weird shit they did. Essentially, they're just trying to find a fall guy and not take responsibility for it.
Basically, yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, it's
I mean,
interesting. I
that
didn't
is
think
the
about
rich person's
initially
way.
like the fact that they like farm out all of their creative content. I mean, I don't know if they do it farm all of it out, but I guess when you got a big collection of luxury items, it's almost like an art piece, the pictures or
Yeah,
stuff that
I
you
don't think
do.
that's weird. I mean, that hiring an outside agency to produce marketing materials. I mean, I think that part's pretty normal.
Oh, for sure.
Them not having any issues with what was produced, like it would feel weird for them to backtrack now and be like, "How could you make those images?" Like, presumably you approved them, or you approved the concepts, then approved the finals, and then approved the distribution, and included it in your ads. So
Yeah,
I don't
no
know.
one's looking at all the other stuff that's in them too. Like, of course, just on face value, you would think someone would be like, red flag, kids holding BDSM bears. But even looking past that, and then it's like the additional layers of like the Supreme Court document or the books that are in the background. It's like, look, whenever I watch movies now, like I didn't when I was like 17, 18 years old, but if I watch a movie and you see books in the background, I'm always interested in what they are because somebody put them there on purpose. And it's like if you're doing that with an ad and there's something there, it's like of course you want to look at that. Like if your job is to sign off on advertisements, you hired a company to do this for you and you're like, yeah, we should like we have final say, and you're just going to ignore everything that's in there in the background. Like, I don't know. All that is weird. Like to say that they actually to think that they actually have a lawsuit on their hands where they can like recover from that. It
They're
feels
trying to
insane.
shift blame.
Yeah, it
You
feels
know,
insane. Like
that's what
I
they're
can't
trying to
imagine
do
them
is
winning.
say like, we're taking this seriously and we want retribution. We're as angry as you are.
Yeah,
I think like so I
so
saw the
dumb.
only like reasonable explanation that I saw for
Did it
why this
involve
is
Becky from Full House?
no, but like somebody had tweeted something along the lines of like Like, I know what this is. This is what, this is a company like purposely soliciting negative feedback in order to get promotion out of it. And
Yeah.
I could definitely see that for the Bears. The Supreme Court documents, the books, I don't think so. I feel like those are minor details. The books I could see as like, some artsy photographer wanting to kind of like give a nod to some artists that he likes, It's like he snuck a Cannibal Corpse song into Ace Ventura. The Supreme Court document is the only one that I'm like, why?
Right.
What
That's
is
way too
this?
on the nose for any explanation, at least we can think of.
And
It
that's
is
also the
interesting.
most easily, like that's the one that I could see sneaking past the censors within the company.
So
You
I
know,
thinking about it. So the Supreme Court thing is saying that pandering will continue to be something you can prosecute, right?
yes.
So maybe, I mean, are they going for, this is just me trying to think of an advertiser's perspective. Are they going for the shocking with the ironic? Like, that seems plausible. Like, here we have these kids with these BDSM bears, and that's shocking and it's a problem. And then we also have, like, ironically, we're going to also put this thing here, which is that you could prosecute pandering. Are we pandering? We're not, but is it a juxtaposition? Certainly.
Maybe
I don't, I,
somebody should have made that case for them already. They
I mean,
have not
so
made that case for
I've
themselves.
gone back. I know I career shifted into adjustment counseling, but I am career shifting into into law. So I plan on being the lawyer for the advertisement company that Balenciaga, whatever the fuck they're called, hired. So I came up with that idea, and I clearly am doing a better job than whoever's handling their case right now. So
Well, I hope you get it. I'm
juxtaposition
guessing that
and
you won't be
irony.
working with many
Look,
children.
you all, yeah, always, always default to irony. If you just say it was oh, we were being ironic, then they go, oh, okay, and then the judge has to agree with you.
Yeah, parody law.
Yeah, parody law. Elon Musk knows a lot about that. As long as you put parody in your profile name, you're good until you're not, because Elon doesn't like you said about him, and then he squanders all of Twitter, and now we're where we're at. So yeah, exactly. Just another example of a rich person making the rules up as they go and it working out really well for them is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so that's the Balenciaga controversy. Final thoughts? Any ideas?
I definitely won't buy their products now.
I think Ghislaine Maxwell is somehow involved. Did I say her name right?
She probably had some Balenciaga gear.
Definitely.
She seemed like a Chico's shopper.
I don't know what Chico's is.
Whatever high end Chico's.
She
I just
had
know that like
Nordstrom rack look to her, if you ask me. But what are your final thoughts, Casey? Piece this together for us. Paint the big picture. I know you got a giant conspiracy welling up inside you.
It seems to me like at least the court document part. I don't know if
The
it's the
documents.
photographer or if it's the set designer or if it was Balenciaga themselves. It does seem like some sort of a wink and a nod to me. But what would be the point of it? I don't know. I mean, it feels a little like hey, if you play Metallica's record backwards, it says to smoke
Yeah,
weed. What's the point? What would be the point of that?
it's just
Well,
brazen.
it's to like condition you to accept such and such. Like, I don't see how any of that could work or be possible or useful in any way to anyone. So I don't know what the motivation would be here.
It feels brazen for the sake of being brazen on all fronts.
Well, if that was their plan, they are definitely doing a bad job of explaining it to the world.
Yeah.
So,
Well, maybe they were expecting people to pick up on nuance, and I don't know. I don't know what your personal experience has been with humanity over the past 4 or 5
internet
years,
humans,
but I don't know that they're great at that.
their next photo shoots with Casey Anthony.
Wait, isn't she getting something? Hold on.
Is
Is she
something
getting?
happening with her right now?
I
I
heard
hope.
something
She's
about
starting
that just
OnlyFans or
recently.
something.
Yeah. Jesus. Probably. That's how she's going to pay her court bills, court
There was
fees.
something. Oh yeah, she's got a trailer for Casey Anthony, "Where the Truth Lies," streaming on Peacock.
Okay.
Is it just like a documentary series about her thing?
It looks like it, yeah, but with her participation.
This is going to work out super well for her, and I'm sure it's going to paint her in exactly the light she wants to be painted in.
I would say exactly like the way it worked out for Giancarlo.
Yeah. Oh man. At
We
some
didn't
point, we
talk
got to
about.
talk about that. Have you guys watched
I haven't. I actually
God
have not.
Forbid?
I have not watched God Forbid yet. I don't know if the episode's out yet. It might have been when we talked to Barrett. I forget when I mentioned it. But a conversation about it did come up, and I was like, I feel like I might be remembering wrong, but I feel like I mentioned not being overly interested in it. Um, and
It's
then, well, okay, so when I don't think I realized entirely what it was, but then I saw the trailer for it and was like, oh, and now I'm gonna have to eat my hat on this one because it does seem interesting. But then I did talk to a friend, another Liberty graduate, who said he didn't feel like it brought a lot of new anything to the table, compared to what like gangster capitalism had already talked about. So I don't really know.
well, I mean, it's like 2 hours long.
Yeah, I guess
Like,
I thought it
it's
was
not
going to
an
be a
in-depth
series.
investigation.
Yeah, yeah. But it's the first time I guess that like
It's
Giancarlo really sat down and gave any of his take.
Yeah,
He
it's John Carlos' side of the story, and backed up by a bunch of experts. The thing with it is I feel like that Billy Corbin, or I think it's Billy Corbin that made it.
Billie Eilish.
Cocaine Cowboys, the greatest documentary of all time. But I think what he did was put this all together in a package for people who maybe saw it peripherally, or read some stuff about it initially when it first came out, but then like lost track of it during the course of things. Yeah,
Yeah,
people that
yeah.
haven't followed it as closely as some of us have. I think what's interesting about it, what I thought was interesting about it, was that it painted a much deeper picture of what his relationship to the Falwells was actually like.
Okay.
Like, and it's weird. It's like very strange. You should
It
just watch it.
seemed it.
Let's save
I'll
this
Yeah, yeah,
conversation,
I'll watch it.
watch it, and then we'll talk about it because it's good. It's worth watching, I think.
Yeah, I'll give it a watch for sure. I definitely want to. My semester's wrapping up in the next week and a half for me, so I'll
You
have
can
some
just
free
quit
time.
school now,
I
right? You got
could.
what you wanted.
Now, I'm what I'm deliberating on is whether or not I slow down my schooling at all, is because now that I'm in the field that I want to be in, I'll get a provisional license, and that'll probably give me about 5 years to be able to graduate. And I was on a 3 year track, and I've already done 1 year. I'm finishing up my first year now. So I could really like extend this out, give myself a little bit more free time. I don't know. I'm on the fence about it because I kind of just want to finish it. But God, free time sounds really great. I'd love to have some of that again. We'll see.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you there. Okay, so uh, I am going for an unofficial Bible degree. And in doing
Okay.
so, I have done a lot of Bible study over the past few months. Probably more Bible study over the past few months than I did in like the past 15 years.
All of your years. I would say all 30 plus of them.
I'm definitely paying much closer attention now as an adult.
Hmm.
And so the other day when we had April on, we talked about Esther and the story of how Esther became queen, the royal beauty pageant.
Right.
And me, like I said in that episode, like I didn't really know the story of Esther anymore. And I figured that part was the interesting part of the book. And the rest of the book is absolutely nuts. And I've had a lot of fun sketching this out. So we're going to
This-
kind of pick up the story right where we left off, Persia's next concubine. Esther wins. The king makes her the queen. They throw a big party in her honor and declare, I don't know, January 6th, Esther Day. so so in chapter 2, like that's the chapter 2 midway through ends right there, and talking about Esther becoming queen, and then it talks about Mordecai. And so reading the rest of this book, it seems very clear to me that Mordecai wrote this book. He had to, because this is like a fan fiction of his life as written by him, and it seems like the whole book is it's about Esther, but it's really, the whole book is just there to jerk off Mordecai.
Okay.
So, and
I
it kind
want
of
to.
starts right here.
I feel like I want to say. No. I won't say anything. You go ahead.
So Mordecai works the gate at the palace, right? And one day he's working the gate and he overhears these two guys that are like the king's officers. They're gossiping. Their names are Bigthana and Teresh. And they were super mad at King Xerxes throughout this whole. And King Xerxes throughout this whole book just seems like a total moron. Like everything he does is stupid. He can just be like whoever walks into. We were joking about that new Lord of the Rings show. Like every scene in that Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power show, every episode has a scene where the townspeople are all gathered up and they're listening to someone give a speech. And it's like whoever's giving the speech has full authority over the townspeople. Like they'll be all revved up about going to war and fighting the orcs and stuff like that, and then one guy will speak up and be like, "I don't think we should do that," and all the townspeople are like whispering to each other, like, yeah, oh yeah." That's kind of how King Xerxes is in this story. So these two guys very mad at him, and they're talking about how they're going to assassinate him. So Mordecai goes and tells Esther, or delivers a message to Esther that this is going down and these two guys are planning to kill the king. Esther goes to the king, tells him that Mordecai, your servant, overheard this assassination plot. It says that there was an investigation. Put that in quotes because something tells me that it wasn't super thorough. And they
It's like the
impaled these
Liberty
two dudes
University
on.
story.
Yeah, it's like Liberty investigating a sexual assault or
Oh,
something. But if
yeah,
they
we
just
had a
automatically punish people,
solid Title IX investigation, guys. And turns out we did awesome.
it's like if they did that, but they just immediately impaled everyone that got accused. So they impale these two guys on big long poles. A lot of people get impaled in the Book of Esther. It's kind of like a recurring theme.
Very Assyrian. I like it.
So Mordecai kind of gets the credit for it, but that was about it. Like nothing real big done in his honor afterwards. So there's this guy that comes into the story that's kind of like the villain of the story at this point, and his name's Haman. Remember this from the
Hyman?
His name's Hyman.
Okay.
And Hyman is just like this wicked, vile douchebag that just hates the Jews. And he's second in command in the kingdom. He's kind of like the
purity
king's
metaphor.
best
I don't
buddy.
really like where this is going.
I think they would if that was the case, they would make Hyman the like the purest and most untouched person, wouldn't they?
But breaking the Hyman with
Mordecai
the
breaks the
problem.
Hyman.
And he died exactly. And
It's okay, Sam. You're making this joke work. Keep going. You're gonna dig out of this. You can do it.
I can't. All I can make was a loose connection. That's it.
Well, Haman is big on titles and adoration, and the king
Title
makes
IX?
him second in command. Yes,
He's
sure.
the hand of the king. Just to translate this into modern Game of Thrones terms for the audience.
Exactly. Yeah, he's Tyrion. So he's prancing around in his like new second in command kingly duds, and he goes through the gate, and he and Mordecai must just like hate each other. It's kind of like office rivalry sort of thing between him and Mordecai, who's just like this guy working the gate. But he says, everybody has been commanded to like bow down and show respect to me when I walk up by the king's command. And Mordecai like will not do it. He's like, I bow down to no one but my God. Takes a courageous stand.
Sounds a lot like Not My President. I like this.
Yeah. Which I keep thinking, like, did Mordecai bow to Xerxes? That never really comes up in the story, but you think it would.
No, Xerxes just respected his faith. I'm sure that's what the implication is.
Xerxes is like a hot-headed doofus that
Xerxes
was
the
pretty cool with
Impaler.
Mordecai just doing whatever he wanted to. But he wouldn't bow to Haman, kind of makes a thing out of it, and he decides like he just hates Mordecai. And he hates him so much he wants to kill him, but then he thinks about it and he's like, you know what? I don't want to kill just Mordecai. I want to kill all the Jews.
And here we are today.
Yeah, that's really about all the explanation it gives for why Haman wanted to kill all the Jews. It was like Mordecai wouldn't fist bump him, and so he's like, nah, genocide.
I feel like it's been basically that since then. I mean, it's just like, oh, you didn't give me that spot on that television series I wanted. Well, let me piece together a conspiracy theory for you.
Boy, hot take.
Well, look at Kanye. I mean, that's literally his take.
Yeah, you guys are two peas in a pod.
I think you're misunderstanding where I'm coming from here.
Yeah, that would be the interpretation for sure.
I'm trying to give the new interpreters translation. I don't know. I think new interpreters is actually a translation.
I'm probably.
I think
How
it's
many
going to be tough to come
translations
up with
are there?
that.
Oh, I'm looking it up. I mean, commonly accepted translations.
Let me guess. 1,500.
Are we doing like just in English, or they're in the entire world?
Oh, just in English.
Let's do it
Okay.
in English, and let me change that.
The only real language.
600.
More than 100. No, I mean that's just the answer. Is more than 100. I can't find a more specific one.
Not helpful.
Dude, what? There's got to be guys walking around, like running around, pitching their translation of the Bible, right? Like,
I mean, I've been doing it for
self-help
years.
gurus and
Won't buy
whatnot.
it.
Like a hot new translation startup.
Yeah, or like a lunatic that shows up at the farmer's market and tries to sell like his bootleg translation of the New Testament.
Okay, so you're saying just like unauthorized, like live bootleg recordings. Like, who's to say that these aren't also treasured translations that we should also be considering as a part of the complete catalog?
Right. Yeah. Like I went to a gun show yesterday, and it's like the guy who's downloading and printing the Turner diaries from his home computer and then selling it at the gun show,
But
like
he
that
leather
guy, but
bound
he's
it.
selling a Bibles.
I haven't been to a gun show in many years, since before the Troubles. Has the tone shifted in the way that I'm imagining that it has?
It's a lot of like F Biden Trump 2024 merch.
Okay.
It sucks,
It's just-
honestly. Like they suck. They're terrible.
It's bad branding. I mean, if your entire thing is to associate gun culture with everything Trump, it's like, ugh,
You gotta understand,
you're
Sam.
wrecking
So
the
much of
longevity.
but so much of like gun culture when it comes to merchandising is based around like the wink wink, you'll definitely need to kill somebody who will definitely break into your house one day,
Yeah.
wink wink.
It's
Like-
like wink, wink, Calvin peeing on somebody's name you don't like. Wink, wink culture.
Right.
I get it.
Exactly. So like that's the only way you can convince people that it's worth spending so many thousands of dollars
On a
on stupid
bazooka.
accessories. Yeah.
What was the wildest gun you saw at the gun showcase? They had some cool shit.
There was like a decommissioned RPG in there.
Okay. Decommissioned though.
Yeah, that's to me that's still cool. That's fine. Oh, Casey,
Yeah.
I'm looking at all these patches you sent me. Yep.
Yeah,
Wait,
so
that's
there
a
was
that's a patch for the Empire from Star Wars. That's the Empire's logo. Like
So I just
literally
sent
fascists.
Jeremiah and Sam. I said it to yesterday, but there was a table that was just nothing but like patches, and I took a picture of half of it. This is half of it. but it's just like patches that you can have your grandma sew onto your body armor vest, you know?
Patches O'Houlihan.
So it says there's like a skeleton hand holding up the middle finger next, and it says your sensitivities.
I got it. What does no quarter given mean?
It's
No
like no
mercy.
survivors, or
Yeah.
yeah, no prisoners, no
So when
survivors.
pirates, like, if they'd run up a flag saying no quarter, it basically meant if you don't surrender, we'll kill everybody. Like,
Kill them
even if you
all, like
surrender,
God
we'll
sort them out.
exactly.
Okay.
So
What's quarter? What is
quarter
quarter?
is mercy,
Oh, okay.
like taking you prisoner / mercy.
Yeah,
I like
my favorite was
shall
the.
not be infringed. I liked that one.
That's a good one.
Well,
And
we've got
one that,
one.
dude, this one is really fucked up, and I appreciate it when it comes to brazenness. It says infidel, and then what I imagine is Arabic for infidel underneath it. So they're just asking to be killed. So that's cool.
Wouldn't it be amazing if it was like you see those pictures of people in t-shirts like in China or something that have American sayings on them, but they're wrong or they say something like awful. Wouldn't it be great if somebody did that infidel patch, but in Arabic they wrote like douchebag or something? The guy's strutting
I'd like
around
that.
with it on his Jeep seat cover.
I gotta say, one of my least favorites is the "We the People" ones. Like,
Or the ones that just say 1776, like it's some vague, like, yeah, patriotism.
yeah,
Yeah, kill the current president, patriotism.
that's dumb too. Oh, here's one. It's a picture of a mask and also a cat on it, and I'm
I
not
don't
sure
understand that one.
the
Yeah, what is that
implications.
supposed to
But
mean?
I will say, well, whatever. He put it on his truck, so he's proud
I
to
like C
have it.
1984. So it's like COVID 1984.
Oh,
Wow, deep.
it's so
Pretty
cool.
cool.
I
There's
I
one that says 2020. I can now see clearly.
I what I really also hate is there's all those joke ones in there about like Bigfoot and stuff. Because this is how, Casey, you've probably gotten ads for these stupid clothing companies that are all like Grunt Tactical, and it's got a bunch of like Bigfoot jokes in 1776, and then obviously a hard right turn at some point where it goes into like, and rise up and kill the liberals. Like, oh, cool. So that's the type of like, we're all about sportsmanlike conduct and training for readiness, brothers. Readiness to do what?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Overthrow the governor.
Definitely gotten a bunch
Government.
of ads for those.
Yeah.
I
I'll
can't
melt
find
you,
it,
snowflake.
but I I I don't know. I don't think it's a surprise, but my dad's an Infowars guy, and I was over there this weekend or this week for Thanksgiving, and there was he's got Infowar. He gets the bumper stickers, and he puts them all on the back of his truck. And one of them was I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but it was like masks are for slaves and something else, and I don't remember what it is. And I'm like,
Slaves and criminals.
oh yeah. That's what it is. Thank you.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh dang! I'm
But
way too tuned into these people.
so I got the criminals one because criminals will wear masks, but like slaves, I don't know.
I don't. It doesn't have to
It
make
doesn't
sense. I
have
mean,
to.
I think that's the moral of the
Because
story
then I
there.
also want to be like, and also for doctors, and also like there's plenty of people who wear masks for a
But
lot
not
of
your dad.
reasons.
Not your
And
dad.
I
but
would.
the
I
only
want to buy your
connection,
dad the patch that says "thought criminal."
yeah, he'd probably love it.
Probably.
I saw that and I had just it's just one of those you see that and you're like, God, we really like I'm cut from that cloth, and I don't know how all four of your children ended up thinking so radically different.
Now,
Yeah.
all four children line up with each other and not your dad, or did everyone go in way different directions?
All four of us are
Reality based?
yeah, we could probably find plenty of things we disagree on ideologically or maybe morally based on where we I don't know how we define or where we get our morality from, but generally like I have a lot in common ideologically with my siblings, I think. And it's generally a point of contention. Like all at various times, sometimes separate, sometimes together, gotten very heated arguments with my dad uh, that end poorly. And then I feel bad for my mom because she's just like left hearing us be like, "Oh my god!" like losing her shit, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't know, I know I get it," but she's not like on the same page as my mom's a very conservative person, but I've never had any real contention with it. Like, we could talk about anything at all and just have a very human to human conversation about why we feel the way we feel about it. Um, and so that's great. So even though probably on a lot of issues she might align with my dad and the way that they would vote, she probably doesn't align with him on how he got to his conclusions, as he's like in the conspiracy theory Alex Jones camp. Um, and then and she's very much not. So and she thinks there's issues on that. It seems to me like she thinks there's issues on that side. Like she doesn't agree with it, but either way, she does see that the rift that it causes between me and my siblings and our dad, and so I don't think she likes it for that reason. Because again, all of us and our mom have been able to. We're all fine, even though we know we don't agree on stuff, and that we could have those conversations. Um, so I think she just sees it as a way that like causes strife in the family and limits conversational ability. So I don't know. I think all that is what's interesting about it is even though she's probably if you're talking about like down ballot voting, she probably aligns with her vote would look a lot more like my dad's on everything. When it comes to like having real conversations, I think it's a lot different.
Yeah, you can be conservative and vote for Trump without thinking that the CIA
Right.
activated Stephen Paddock in order to
Exactly.
take guns away from people.
Like my mom's conservative. She has probably very clear ideas about abortion. She probably likes the way that the Supreme Court ruled. She probably voted for Trump based on hoping to get more conservative Supreme Court justices. Like she got everything she wanted out of voting for Trump, but she would be like, I think Trump's an asshole. So like, I don't know.
She
Of
doesn't think
course I
Pepsi's
disagree,
putting
but
aborted fetus stem cells in their drinks.
yeah, yeah. And maybe she has some ideas about what's happening with stem cell research that might what I would be considered misguided, but I don't know. All that to say, like
Yeah,
I do think that like she's a she's coming from a good place, and I would there isn't a topic that I wouldn't approach with her if it came up. Like I would be happy to sit and talk with my mom calmly about why we think the way we do. It doesn't always work out that way with my dad. I've probably had more conversations with him about things, and then it's like on an arc. It gets like it really ramps up, and then it crashes, and we settle, and then we're able to like maybe talk more rationally. But uh, I don't know. I what's crazy is I guess I see some similarities between my dad and I that I wouldn't have thought, because I never thought that we were that similar. And then as we get older, I'm like, oh, I can see myself feeling those feelings the way he does. But just
But then you
from,
just you push him down. You're like,
from
Balenciaga just made a weird marketing choice. Like it's fine. It's
yeah,
probably nothing.
no, but from a different perspective. So I don't know. It's all weird. I think just family dynamics get weirder and weirder the older you get. Anyway, we don't need to talk about this anymore.
So Esther, she gets to
Esther,
the kingdom.
yeah,
yeah. Okay, I'll give you the cliff notes on some of the stuff that everybody's heard or knows at some point. So, Haman goes in, his intent on getting rid of the Jews. So he makes this big pitch to King Xerxes that they're like this separate group living amongst his people that are plotting and conspiring against him, and they don't honor his commandments and all of this stuff. And basically, they need to be wiped out. So the king, like I said, he's kind of an idiot. So he's like, "Hey, you said it. I'm kind of busy right now. I'm gonna give you my ring," which the king's ring seems to be like the key to the kingdom. It's like his signet. How do you say that word? Is it signet?
Signet.
Signet. Yeah.
His signet ring.
Homeschoolers unite. We know.
Actually, Haman says he will give the king 10,000 talents basically to let him kill all the Jews.
Talents. I'm still looking for one talent. That's dope.
Well, the king tells
10,000.
him to keep them, so maybe he
Magic.
knew
It's like, you'll be
his
good at
talents weren't
guitar.
that desirable.
You can do math good. Lots of talents, man. The
His
best
talents weren't
talents.
that exciting. It was like Haman had won a couple of those stick pony competitions.
Hobby horse competition.
Hobby horse.
You will fucking air guitar, dude.
You can keep your talents, all right? Just go kill the Jews for me. So, yeah, he got his wish, and I guess Haman like cast lots to determine what day they were going to kill all the Jews. It falls on this certain day, which is sometime in the future, and he sends out the word, which is kind of weird. It's kind of like everybody seems to know that he's about to kill all the Jews on, Tuesday the 14th, and everybody's just kind of waiting around to get murdered. Mordecai finds out, and he panics, puts on sackcloth and ashes, and he goes and like screams outside the palace walls. Mordecai comes across and like his what he's trying to do isn't always like a bad thing by any means, but like he definitely uses Esther as kind of like his foot in the door at the palace. So he goes in front of the palace, screams and yells. She's like, whoa, what is he doing? Maybe she's embarrassed or something. So she sends her servants out there to try to clothe him and stuff, and he like refuses. Finally, he tells one of her servants, like, I'm screaming because we're about to all be murdered, and you have to do something about it. All right, you need to go before the king and tell him that this is that he needs to not do this. But if you remember, like all the drama with Queen Vashti when she wouldn't show up and stuff, he kind of set forth some new rules at that point. One of which was basically
real
like
Bill Maher approach. I see where he's coming from.
yeah, new rule: don't come before the king unless you're called, and if you do, I'm gonna kill you. So she's like real nervous about just bursting into the throne room, and as it turns out, it says that she hadn't been called before the king in a month. So I'm guessing the honeymoon period was over. I looked at some timelines, and it looked like there was about 4 years between when she became queen and when this actually happened. That's what's supposedly the timeline, right? So Mordecai says, do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Which is a weird pitch, right? It's like, hey, if you choose to be quiet, we're still going to get delivered by some other means, but you're going to die.
Yeah, it's like, look, if they're coming for us, you think you're going to get away with this? You won't. Why? Because we're a bunch of rats, and we're going to tell on you.
You can risk death now, or you can wait for God to kill you. So she agrees to do it. She says, everybody, go talk to all the Jews, tell them to fast and pray for 3 days. I'll have all my servants fast and pray, and then I'll go do it. So she gets on her royal duds. She goes and stands outside the king's throne room, and then at some point she enters without being called in, right? And at this point, the only thing that can save your life,
youth group.
right? The only thing that can save your life at that point is if the king holds out his golden scepter and touches you with it.
The only thing that can save you from the rule that the king made
Yes.
is the king.
The king is much like God in that he is very bound by his own arbitrary rules that he made up.
Now, I saw an animated version of this once, and I do believe that the king did not touch her with the staff, but instead he held it out sideways, and his decision was based on the direction that he tilted the staff, either up or down, I think.
The Joaquin Phoenix approach.
From Gladiator? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that in Gladiator?
Yeah. Joaquin
What if I'm
Phoenix,
making the whole thing up and that's all that I'm thinking of?
Does the
He
like the
gives
thumb in front of the crowd for the should the gladiator live or die? Is that what you're thinking, Sam?
I don't think that's what I'm thinking, but who knows? Memories aren't trustworthy.
yeah. He says to kill the man in the tiger mask, and Russell Crowe says, "Screw you, Commodus, I'm not doing it."
Yeah. Well, we had all these animated Bible stories on VHS.
Oh, I've
and
watched that one
this is one.
twice in the last 2 days. So
Have you really? You know what I'm talking?
it's on
Is that
YouTube.
right? Was it the staff to the side and
He does
they're up
do
and
that
down?
at one point.
Fuck
Like
yeah!
he
I knew
holds
I
it out.
wasn't
You
making this
nailed it.
shit up. Thank God.
You got to watch that.
I
I'm excited to watch some more of them because they're pretty funny, actually.
Dude, I gotta go through my parents' VHSs because I feel like there's so much gold there from what there's so much.
Dude, remember last time we talked about the king's eunuchs, and we had probably you can't help but envision them as kind of you know uh God, I can't think of what the word is I'm looking for, but yeah, happy-go-lucky gay dude.
Okay.
That is exactly how they put him in the cartoon too. Like, she goes in before the eunuch and he's like, "Let's put you in silk."
Oh my God.
Literally how they wrote it.
It's unreal.
He's one of the best characters in it, though. I mean, so she goes before the king and she says, "Hey, I want to throw you and Haman a banquet." And I don't know if there was a reason for that. I guess it's just timing. I don't know. There's a lot of overlapping timelines here that all kind of work out for Mordecai's best interest. So he's like,
Mordecai's
"Sure."
a cool name. I've always found it cool ever since I played the first Borderlands game, and there was a character named Mordecai.
He's cool in that. You're
He's
right.
cool. But even when I heard that, I was like, Mordecai, it's a name I know. It's a cool name. You can't name your kid that. It's still not the right name for a kid these days, despite our cultural shifts towards interesting names. I don't know.
I like it too.
Mordecai.
I've been thinking
It's
that
great.
the whole time. Is like, Mordecai's such a cool
It's
name to
dope.
name somebody.
It really is cool.
So I want to throw you and Mordecai a party. He says, "Yes, we'll do that." She says, "Okay, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow night, we'll have this big party, right?" So Haman is stoked because he's like the only person being honored at the queen's banquet. He's in all of his royal robes and everything. Walks out the gate, and guess who's there? That prick Mordecai. And he doesn't stand up. He doesn't fist bump him. He doesn't Heil Hitler him. Nothing. He's like, "All my riches and titles and everything, I got all this good stuff going for me, and this prick Mordecai won't salute me, and I hate him, and it ruins it all for me." He's talking to his wife at this point. And his wife and friends are like, "You should erect a pole 50 cubits high." And we went over this. The cubit is a unit of measurement that is the distance between your navel and the bottom of your flaccid penis.
Yes.
50 of those. It's a tall pole.
No, that's short, depending on who you're talking about.
50 of anything's pretty long.
That's like 10, 11 feet.
Yeah, that'd get Mordecai's legs off the ground when you impale him.
It's a
His
cubit.
feet be dangling.
So for real though, a cubit is elbow to fingertip.
Yes.
And I feel like a cubit is maybe similar length to your thigh.
Yeah, probably
that's close.
about.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
And now I'm wondering
My
if
cubit's short.
universally are cubits similar to thighs. Maybe
Well,
not.
I guess
Maybe.
I'll Google that while we keep going.
Yeah. I need everyone listening to hold out your hand,
Look up cubits, Jay.
place it against your thigh, and then leave a review for this podcast.
I'm furiously Googling cubit and thighs, and I'm just not getting the information that we need.
Send Sam your cubits. But yeah, so 50 cubits high, they're going to impale Mordecai on it. They're like giddy with excitement thinking about it.
Brutal.
So, that night, the king goes to his chambers and he can't sleep. He's had a hard day of making contradictory decisions and he cannot sleep. So he calls one of his servants to come in and read him the story of his own rule. He's kind of like He's like Kenny Powers, like rolling around listening to his own audiobook.
Yes, that's it.
I wonder,
Amazing.
like, does he tell him to like go back multiple years, or he's like, tell me what have you cooked up for last week? What were my exploits? And the guy's like, oh man, well this isn't done being edited yet. Like this is all pretty fresh. He's like, no, I want to hear it. I want to hear
It's like, I'm a low IQ drunk. I don't remember.
it.
It's mostly off the dome. The guy's just like, and then you did that thing that you did. That
then the
decree.
then the
Solid
glor-
decree.
then the
Best
glorious
decree.
king decided to take the afternoon off to go play golf, and yeah, it was pretty amazing. Everyone was impressed. So the next day,
Remember when you stole every virgin in the kingdom? That was cool.
Yeah. Very Trumpian. You have the best the decrees. Those your decrees are amazing. The best of the best decrees.
So while he's reading back the history, he talks about the servant read the part about when Mordecai warned him of the assassination plot.
Ooh.
And he's like, huh,
It's like
I
Inception.
forgot all about that. And he's like, did we do anything for Mordecai? Did we give him like a cool shirt or a gift certificate or anything? And the servant said, no, we didn't do anything for him. And he's like, huh. So he's thinking about that the next day. And Haman goes into the king's throne room and he's talking to him. And he's like, basically like, hey, what would you do for
Your
somebody
son was at home crying all
really?
alone on the bedroom floor because he's hungry. And the only way to feed him is to sleep with a man for a little bit of money. Did I get that right?
Yeah,
No?
I mean, pretty close.
Because his daddy's gone, so we're smoking rock now and out of lockdown. I ain't got a job now.
So the king asks Haman, he says, what should be done for the man that the king delights to honor? And Haman's like, this is about me. He's going to honor me. Who else would he pick but me? I'm me. And he's like, for the man that the king delights to honor, have them bring a royal robe the king has worn and a horse the king has ridden. So he really wants to smell like him. One with a royal crest placed upon its head, so give the horse a cool hat. Then let the robe and horse be entrusted to one of the king's most noble princes. Let them robe the man the king delights to honor and lead him on the horse through the city streets, proclaiming before him, this is what is done for the men the king delights to honor. And the king's like, sure, that
it
sounds
really
good.
sounds like he's like a stereotypical like wife trying to lead her husband into planning a good anniversary dinner, and then maybe it would be cool to go somewhere like I'm a size medium. I'm a medium, and it'd be cool to go maybe to a clothing store where there'd be some medium clothes that I could try on. Like that's what it sounds like this guy is doing.
Dropping some on the nose hints for
Yeah.
sure.
I really like horse riding. I also, do you have when you eat your plate of food at lunch, if it's not done, I will take the rest of that, like maybe in a to-go box. I mean, the man that you want to honor, you give him a to-go box of lunch.
Maybe something that smells like you, maybe a lock of your hair. The king says, go at once, get the robe and the horse, and do just as you suggested, all of that for Mordecai the Jew.
Which did he have to tack
sounds
the Jew
awful.
on the end?
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah, that's what it says. It says Mordecai the Jew. And
God damn. It's like 3,000 years later and they're still dealing with the same fucking shit.
this is the NIV version, so probably not in God's inspired word. But yeah, so Haman is upset. So he has to like dress Mordecai and then walk through the streets with a bullhorn telling everybody how cool he is. And he hates it. He hates it a lot. So he gets home and he's just like fuming. And he's telling his wife about doing this and how much he hated it and everything. And she says, since Mordecai, before whom your downfall has started, is of Jewish origin, you cannot stand against him. You will surely come to ruin. While they were talking with him, the king's eunuchs arrived and hurried Haman away to the banquet Esther had prepared. There again, this feels very written by Mordecai.
And then everyone clapped and stood up and clapped because Haman got embarrassed. and no one ever heard from him again, and he felt dumb. Not Mordecai though. Mordecai just goes on the horse ride forever and gets more cloaks and is best friends with the king, who's evil, but it's still cool that he's best friends, kind of, if you think about it.
Oh, we've got a lot of back padding left for Mordecai here.
All right.
So Haman goes to
Wait,
Queen
real quick.
Esther's banquet.
Sorry,
They whisk
officially, who wrote the Book of Esther?
Maybe Mordecai.
Yeah, let me
I
look
think
this
there
up.
was something in like the last chapter that said that like Mordecai recorded these events.
Tradition has it that the core of the book was written by Mordecai, its main
You don't
character and the
say.
cousin of Esther.
Yeah, big Mordecai energy. And Mordecai incidentally gives Haman big 45 energy.
Yeah, I was saying Mordecai's book, The Art of the Forced Marriage Deal.
So the court eunuchs rush Haman off to the White House, where Queen Esther has prepared a banquet of McDonald's.
For all the college athletes.
So they eat dinner, had a great time, and then the king's like, Queen Esther, what is your petition? It will be given to you. What is your request? Even up to half the kingdom, it will be granted to you. And Esther, at this point, like she's gonna broach the subject. She says, "If I have found favor with you, your Majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life. This is my petition, and spare my people. This is my request. For I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated. If we had merely been sold as male and female slaves, I would have kept quiet, because no such distress would justify
Sorry, what?
disturbing the king."
That's basically that meme from Community of like, I can excuse the slavery, but where I really draw the line is the forced extermination. And they're like, you can excuse the slavery? She's like, if it was just my people being enslaved, I would have shut up because being queen is dope. But if you wipe them out, I'm gonna be the only Jew left, and that's gonna be kind of weird. So
now, if you force us into servitude, I seriously, I wouldn't bother you with this.
What if he's like, oh my god, wow,
Queen serves too.
That's a really good idea. I'll enslave them all. She's like, oh fuck, that's shit. That's not what I wanted.
He's like, all right, we're negotiating now.
I feel like Xerxes was probably actually like, ugh, everybody's always complaining about something. That's the vibe he has throughout this whole book. He says, who is he? Where is he? The man who has dared to do such a thing. Esther said, an adversary and enemy, this vile Haman. And Haman is quaking in his boots. Nobody at this point knew that Esther was a Jew because Mordecai told her not to tell anybody. So she's kept that hidden like all the way from the beginning and only now revealed it to the king and stuff.
It almost makes it feel like your ethnicity is unknowable if people don't know for sure, which makes it arbitrary, which is an interesting reason to kill people over.
Yeah, if I was a townsperson in Persia, I would just not
watch
tell
the
anybody.
Wild Thornberries?
No,
but I know what it is.
Oh my god! Well, there was an episode of the Wild Thornberries that's very relevant right now. Eliza Thornberry can talk to animals. Do you guys know that?
Mm-hmm. I've heard that.
Well, wherever they are, there's these monkeys. There's two monkeys, sects of monkeys. There's this kind of monkey across the river, and on the other side of the river is another kind of monkey. And the only difference is the length of their tails. Well, they hate each other, these monkeys. And she says, she kind of plays both sides, right? And she gives them these little armor sets, which is kind of like putting, I don't know, maybe they're coconuts around their bodies. But it hides their tails, and these monkeys go to battle. And these monkeys don't realize which monkeys they're fighting. And at the end of the battle, they realize that they're all fighting each other because the only difference is just their tails. And I find that episode of the Wild Thornberries would have fallen well on the ears of Xerxes at this time.
Did the monkey with the long tail get like straight piped with a 50-foot pole?
No. He
Oh,
didn't.
okay.
He gave
Well,
his
that
life
might
to
be where the
Christ.
comparisons end.
He gave his life to Christ, and all the other monkeys gave their life to Christ afterwards. And that is the reason we need to engage in missionary work.
Oh my gosh.
You are going in so many different directions tonight. I
I knew
like
it was
it.
going to
It's
be
fun.
bad. I just didn't know where.
So Haman is scared, naturally.
What are
He's
we talking
bewildered.
about?
The king is angry. So he just like stomps out into the garden and he's like raging out, fight dancing in the garden while Esther and Haman are
Fight
still in the
dancing.
room together.
Like Hot
Haman
Rod.
like exactly, yeah. Haman falls on Esther. She's like reclining on a couch and he like falls on top of her begging for his life. And the king walks back into the room at this point and he exclaims, "Will he even molest the queen while she is with me in my house?" It wasn't a good look.
It wasn't. I was concerned. Felt like he did a molest.
Yeah. They put a hood over his head. And then Harbona, I'm pretty sure he appeared in the story earlier during the beauty part or pageant. One of the king's eunuchs attending the king said, "A
One
pole
of the
reaching
king's
to a
eunuchs and
height
all of the king's men.
and a pole reaching to a height of 50 cubits stands by Haman's house. He had it set up for Mordecai, who spoke up to help the king. The king said, 'Impale him on it.'"
Hoist him on his own petard.
You know, when your only tool is a giant pole, everything looks
Like a
impalable.
butthole.
E
Sorry, I thought that's where
pluribus
we were going.
anus.
So this
Another
is where
community reference. I don't know.
I got it, but too late. I didn't react. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I needed to clarify that for you. I don't think Casey was up on community, but figured we'd go for the second one in a row here.
Okay, well, this is where the book gets real fun.
No, right now.
Yeah.
Man, I've been having fun this whole time.
So here's the fun part that I don't think I feel like people don't really talk about the rest of this book. They kind of skim over it. But this is okay. So King Xerxes gave Queen Esther the estate of Haman, the enemy of the Jews. And Mordecai came into the presence of the king, for Esther had told how he was related to her. The king took off his signet ring, which he had reclaimed from Haman, and presented it to Mordecai. And Esther appointed him over Haman's estate. So they kill Haman in a heinous way. I
Dang.
guess it's kind of like Highlander, where like he just absorbs Haman's title since he got him murdered. There could only be one. That's how the promotion system works in Persia. They're just like, well, you're a dude. Here's this ring. So Esther pleads with the king to rescind the order about killing all the Jews. And the king's put in a long day at this point. So he's like,
Exhausted.
"Look, I'm bored of this. Here's my ring. Mordecai, do whatever you want. Take care of this." So he kind of
Talk
empowers
about
Mordecai.
phoning it in.
Oh, 100%. And this is a fun twist, right? So he kind of gave Mordecai the ability to like rescind the order that he had sent out to all the kingdoms, right? But Mordecai doesn't do that. So Mordecai writes a second order and has it shipped to all of the different kingdoms, basically saying that the Jews are able to arm themselves and kill all their enemies.
That's a hard sell.
Dude, and he's got the ring, so it says that basically like that's the you can rubber stamp about anything with the ring if you got it.
He basically writes down like cancel student loan debt, and he's just slamming the ring on it. He's like, I don't know, will it work? Let's find out. Who knows?
I'm trying to find the now write another decree in the king's name on behalf of the Jews as seems best to you, and seal it with the king's signet ring. Right. So Mordecai says the king's edict granted the Jews in every city the right to assemble and protect themselves, to destroy, kill, and annihilate the armed men of any nationality or province who might attack them and their women and children, and to plunder the property of their enemies.
So
So,
people are going to read this and be like, all right, so King Xerxes went from kill all the Jews to all the Jews get to kill anyone they want. They can take whatever they want. Uh, every Wednesday is Jews Day. If a Jew walks by your house, you have to feed them. It's like, and everyone was like, all right, well, I mean, it is using his ring. So yeah, I guess this checks out. Not weird at all.
yeah, so there's some fun passages here. So the couriers get sent out in every direction, but the order goes into effect first in the citadel of Susa, which is where they are, right? And it says, when Mordecai left the king's presence, he was wearing royal garments of blue and white, a large crown of gold, and purple robe of fine linen. And the city of Susa held a joyous celebration. For the Jews, it was a time of happiness and joy, gladness and honor. In every province and in every city to which the edict of the king came, there was joy and gladness among the Jews, with feasting and celebrating. And many people of other nationalities became Jews because fear of the Jews had seized them.
Hmm.
And so, first in Susa,
It sounds a lot like people converting to Christianity during the Crusades.
It really does.
Sounds a lot like that, yes.
Except for the Crusades were actually people doing horrible things, and this was just based on a rumor and a sly little like, this is what I'm going
This
to
is
do to
one
save my
dude.
people.
One
Yeah.
dude who hates one dude.
God, why on earth aren't people making these stories movies? They're
It would
great.
be fun.
They're
It's real
so
Game of
fun.
Thrones-esque.
Dude, huge missed opportunity. I bet the biggest reason is Christian backlash.
It would be hard to make some of these and help them translate into more Christians.
It doesn't need to. Why? Because whose book is this? Not the Christians. The Christians stole it.
Finders keepers. The Jews assembled in their cities in all the provinces of King Xerxes to attack those determined to destroy them. No one could stand against them because the people of all the other nationalities were afraid of them. And all the nobles of the provinces, the satraps, the governors, and the king's administrators helped the Jews because fear of Mordecai had seized them. Mordecai was prominent in the palace. His reputation spread throughout the provinces, and he became more and more powerful. He was kind of like the Steve Bannon of Persia. The Jews struck down all their enemies with the sword, killing and destroying them, and they did what they pleased to those who hated them. So there's a lot of killing and impaling at this point.
Is
Yeah,
So
the
they
definitely. This is the forgotten part, I think.
Yes. So they kill 500 people in the citadel first, right? And including Haman had 10 sons, which doesn't really say how old they were, if they had much of anything to do with him at this point, whatever. But they kill all of his sons and take all their property, right? And then
The good
Esther
old days.
for the king. And the king's like, so they killed 300 people in the citadel. Like, what do you want now? And she says, give the Jews in Susa permission to carry out this day's edict tomorrow also, and let Haman's 10 sons be impaled on poles.
Oh shit!
And it's funny because like the Esther that's in the cartoon, you know, she's like the sweetest, kindest, most soft-spoken, like coy girl. Blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
and this
Handing
was
out
like, you
love.
want to hate us for millennia? I'll give you a reason to hate us for millennia.
It's
Kill
like
his
putting people
sons.
on poles.
Esther's over here talking about the final solution for Haman's line.
we're talking about mass crucifixion. You hear me?
So they impale his 10 sons, Haman's 10 sons, on poles and display them in the city. And then the Jews take another day to kill an extra 300 people in Susa. Meanwhile, the edicts are going out in every direction. The Pony Express is taking it to every corner of Persia, and the Jews in all of these other provinces kill 75,000 people who, in an act of self defense. So they kill, I don't know, everybody. And then
Sounds it.
it says that there was much rejoicing and feasting, and
Amongst the
they,
Jews.
yeah, and they made a holiday out of it. The holiday is called Purim. Pur is like the lot that was cast, that Haman cast to determine what date to kill all the Jews, and they kind of made a holiday out of it, sort of reclaimed it.
I don't know if that's still celebrated today or not.
And Mordecai finished writing it and was like, wow, the good guys definitely won this one. Perfect. No changes.
It says they kind of feast and they give gifts to each other, so it's kind of like genocidal Christmas.
Yeah.
It's weird too, like how many verses will be devoted to like, and then they killed everybody,
Oh, that is so
and
common.
then
And then
and then there's like
800,000
18
people died.
verses on like, here's how important it is to celebrate this holiday.
Well, like the average Persian's got to be like, Haman who? You got to kill 300 more? Like, why? Like, not this again. Like, just be some poor Persian villager. Be like, every time it's the king's birthday, they got to go kill 500 like peasants. Every time, okay, the queen, apparently she's from a different country and some guy did something bad, so we're just going to kill a bunch of us again. Like, what's the point?
Exactly.
It'd be hard to feel pretty loyal as a Persian peasant, I think.
Yeah, I think it would be scary. It'd be scary to be like this, subject to the whims of like one lunatic, or maybe two, I guess, counting Mordecai. That
When
was
was this story?
Shortly before the events of 300.
Which was when?
I don't know. Hold on.
I mean, Xerxes. When was Xerxes?
Was there only one Xerxes, though?
Yeah, there was more than one for sure.
Yeah, so Xerxes
Xerxes,
the
there
Great
was
was the fourth king of
Artaxerxes.
kings, ruled from 486 to 465 BC.
Okay, because then
I
there
don't
was
think this is Xerxes the
Cyaxares
Great.
in 612.
This
So
is Xerxes the Simple.
the only reason,
Xerxes the easily led around.
no, the reason I was thinking about it is because I know like Assyria was part of the like Persian Empire. I think it might have been the capital at some point. But that was in like the 6th century BC, and obviously the Assyrians were like notable for lots and lots of brutal
Blood and gore and killing and
murders
murder.
and
The
putting it
Persians
on
were,
display. So I'm like, maybe they learned that all from Esther. Maybe that's Esther's contribution. I don't
well,
know.
Actually,
this
it does
is
look like
post Assyrians.
Xerxes the Great, Xerxes one, is
Post-Assyrian.
supposedly the same Xerxes who invaded Greece and the same Xerxes from the Bible, but there is not consensus. So there's a lot of scholars apparently arguing that Xerxes is the king Ahasuerus. I'm not pronouncing that correctly,
Yeah,
but no,
that's what
it does.
he's
It
written
does look
as.
like if some of the consensus was correct, and there isn't a consensus, then yes, the same Xerxes that Esther was married to and did all this stuff is the same Xerxes who was in 300.
Very
Another
interesting.
equally historical recounting of
Yeah. Well,
very
the thing about
fact-based
historical
events,
recounts is it's all based on who's telling it. The whole idea of like historicity is changed significantly since
which
that
makes it
time.
even more incredible that Mordecai is the one writing this down.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, he was going to kill us, so you'll never guess what we did.
I love it.
The thing that we were accusing them of doing, we did that. To fewer of them, though, so it's better. Except for his sons. We did impale them. He was only going to impale me, but eye for an eye, a tooth for 10 of your teeth, and everything's even.
Yeah.
One for
75,800 people murdered and impaled on poles.
Perfect.
Numbers mean nothing in old books.
Now,
they're just completely
just
arbitrary.
literally made up.
75,000 people.
apparently, though, Xerxes' bad reputation is due to propaganda by Alexander the Great.
That son of a bitch.
The modern historian Richard Stoneman regards the portrayal of Xerxes as a more nuanced and tragic in the work of the contemporary Greek historian Herodotus.
The
But then
father
a lot
of
of people
modern
think
history.
Herodotus was recording spurious information, so a lot of hot goss.
Wow.
So, wow, it sounds like there just is no agreement on this
It's almost
dude.
like it's hard to know what happened 2,500 years ago. Wild.
Yeah, but well, okay, you don't understand. There's not a consensus, but everything was passed down with a strong oral tradition where word by word accuracy was extremely important. We can trust these historical accounts
Yeah.
from 450 BC.
Spoken like a true homeschooler. I love it.
The only historian that I care about is named Mordecai, and he has a very good send off for the book here.
Send
Chapter
us off.
10.
Hey, send us off with a solid oh man. What's the word? Oh, I'm forgetting. What do pastors do before at the end of the service?
And all
Altar
God's
call?
people say,
No, not an altar
Not
call.
closing?
What's the closing? God, benediction.
oh, I would not have guessed that.
Yeah,
Wow.
me neither.
Well, y'all are shitty Christians.
Good word.
Casey, send us off with a
It's
solid
called word
benediction.
of faith. It's
At least it
okay.
came
What?
back
That's
to
fine.
me.
It's
At
fine.
least the Lord reminded me of it in my time of need. Unlike you heathens.
Much like
Fuck
Mordecai.
off.
The NIV version titles this 3-verse book or a chapter that ends the book, The Greatness of Mordecai. It says,
I love
King
that.
Xerxes imposed tribute throughout the empire to its distant shores, in all his acts of power and might, together with a full account of the greatness of Mordecai, whom the king had promoted. Are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Media and Persia? Mordecai the Jew was second in rank to King Xerxes, preeminent among the Jews, and held in high esteem by his many fellow Jews because he worked for the good of his people and spoke up for the welfare of all the Jews.
So let it be
Signed,
written.
Love,
So let
Mordecai.
it be done.
Yeah, so I don't know. This is basically the story of like a quarrel between two co-workers that resulted in, I don't know, 75,000 corpses.
Sounds like a metal song, if you ask me.
And you know, godly women should be like Esther. They should let their cousin tell them what to do and enter them in. They should let their cousins arrange their marriages for them.
And then they should make their husband a really good meal, and then ask, was it a good enough meal that we won't be killed? And if not, can I ask for a favor? That's the takeaway. Is like, ladies, are you baking good enough meals for your husband not to want to kill you, as is his right?
Perfect
There's
takeaway.
so many good lessons to learn here. Yeah. So,
But yeah, the lesson of Esther was supposed to be about her courage, right?
yeah, because she went before the king, even though it might have resulted in her death.
Fun fact, I was going to mention it earlier, and then I withdrew my attempt at saying anything because I wanted to verify it first. But the Book of Esther does not mention God at all.
Yeah, it's one of like 2, right? It's Esther, and then is it Ruth?
I thought it was the only. Oh man.
I feel like there's one more because I think I just heard this. I watched a couple of pastors spout off about the book,
Okay.
and
What do the pastors have to say about that? What's their take?
Well, just because
Out of
God
the
isn't
name.
mentioned by name doesn't mean that God isn't present throughout the whole thing.
They said, it was said that it offers us a powerful idea of how Christians should behave around non-Christians.
God. Okay,
Does it?
Christian takes on this stuff are the worst.
You should be completely separate and disregard their customs. You should gain power
Interesting.
over them and kill most of them.
Subjugate before you can be subjugated. That's the takeaway.
Law of the jungle.
I mean, that's the general feeling I'm getting even in today's world.
Yeah, it is kind of it does work the same. But
Well-
yeah, there wasn't a lot of real good takes on what it meant other than like Esther obeyed God and she was, saved her
obeyed
people
God.
because she was brave, that sort of thing. It definitely, like, the whole book to me definitely feels like this is Mordecai writing about how cool he is and like framing it as like, yeah, but my cousin Esther also brave. You know what? And I'll name the book after her. It seems like a very subtle way of distracting from how cool he is.
I feel like it's a let me show you how this big dick swangs kind of book.
Like the real power behind the throne.
It does feel like the more I feel like the longer I'm out of like the evangelical Christian world, the more like you see the disservice they've done to every single book in the Old Testament. Like no
It's
book
true.
goes unscathed. Like stop. Look, if you're still Christian, just don't listen to a single evangelical about what they have to say about the Old Testament. Just look at what maybe some Jewish, what some rabbis and some Jewish scholars have to say about it, because it's probably more interesting, and you can probably glean more from it when it comes to your day to day life. But that's my general takeaway so far on everything I've ever read about any of these books since shifting out of evangelicalism. It's like it's always the worst, most like boiled down, lowest common denominator takes.
100%.
Terrible.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it feels like once you start diving into some of these. Is like, you could make a lot of this story. Like, just like
So
people
much.
make a lot of the Iliad, or you name it. But
Yeah.
like, it always had to be like, and here's what this means: do what your dad tells you.
Yeah, exactly. It's so dumb. It's awful. Uh,
So,
well,
that's
be
the book
blessed,
of Esther.
everyone.
We are closing the book of Esther now. And if you enjoyed it, well, first off, if you want to have some fun, go on YouTube and find the old Bible cartoon.
I gotta find the name. I forget what the name of these series were. I, I,
You'll know the animation as soon
yeah,
as
it's
you see
very
it.
specific.
Yeah, it's distinct. Because the minute I saw it, I'm like, oh, yes, I used to have this on VHS.
The eyes have no color; they're just like black holes. That's part of it.
Yep. Yeah, and they have kind of like long, angular faces.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
budget animation, guys. Animation's expensive. What do you want them to do? They
they
had to
put a
make
lot
like,
into that.
I mean, how many of them are there in the series? 50?
A bunch.
There's
Yeah,
a
there was a
lot.
lot
Yeah.
of them. I had like a whole bookshelf full of them, I feel like.
Was there a Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego one?
Oh, let's do that story.
That's a good one. We should do that one next. Yeah.
I'm down. And then at some point, Sam is gonna like walk us through not the book of Samson, the story of Samson.
Story of Samson in the Book of Judges. I want to do like I recently started skimming through Judges, and it's very like there's like a few judges that are really focused on, then a few that are like in passing. I want to do the cliff notes of the Book of Judges though, because it's cool. It's fucking cool as shit. And then the ones that they really focus on are wild. And then the story of Samson is just it's just it's a wild story. It's so cool. I'll forever stand by that. All I want more than anything is for someone to make like a brutal, like bloody ass
I think
R-rated
you want the Zack
version.
Snyder version
Yeah,
of it too, like to go back to 300. Like, there's a few directors that could do a good job of it,
yeah,
and I think he would do an awesome one.
like a
You want like
gladiator
the
style of
Northman
like Samson. Yes,
Samson.
like just fucking roll with it as a mythic story and make it brutal as fuck. Eh, I think it could be one of the greatest
Just don't cast
action
Dwayne
movies.
the Rock
Yeah.
Johnson.
God, please no.
Just please not him.
You need Jason Momoa, guys. Come on.
I
No.
like a tall, sinewy Clint Eastwood type Samson.
You want what's the guy? Man.
Personally, I think Ben Affleck would be a good choice.
Who's the really tall guy with the goofy face? Like really tall.
Adam Driver.
Yes. I'm so glad all I needed was really tall guy with the goofy face. Do we want
Yeah,
Adam Driver to play Samson?
He looks like one of those like Sphinx cats.
I'd rather have Jason Momoa, I think.
I don't want to see Jason Momoa in anything ever.
Yeah, I'm okay
Or
with
Dwayne
that.
the Rock Johnson.
Is Jason
Both of
too
them
handsome?
have made enough.
Oh, okay, that's why. He's just his hair's too long, beard's too good, too handsome. Is that the problem?
Yeah, and they just never have made a good movie ever. Also that. Mostly that, actually.
How do you guys feel about Colin Hanks as Samson?
Who's Colin Hanks?
Tom Hanks' son.
Orange County is like the first thing that comes to my mind. And then he did show Life in Peace. You just Google him right now.
Definitely not Samson. That's
No.
like he's not the Tom Hanks son who's like a rapper and covered in tattoos.
Yeah,
He's
not
the
Chet.
other one.
This isn't Chet.
Right.
I'll take Chet Hanks as Samson though.
Not Tom Holland. Please no Tom Holland as Samson. I know he's pretty hot right now.
Okay.
Jack Black.
Yeah.
I take Jack Black. I mean, as long as Hollywood doesn't get woke and like cast a woman instead, like I want my Samson's got to be a man.
Yeah. Wow.
How about like a Michael Cera?
There you go.
Why don't we start the movie with Michael Cera, and then at some point we'll switch to Colin Hank and not acknowledge it.
As he grows
Just-
up, he just gets bigger.
Expect the
Let's-
audience to sort it
Before
out.
we do Samson, we'll have to come up with like the full cast of the Samson movie.
Dude, we should that should be a part of this. Is we should cast the people in the story.
Fan
Yeah.
so
casting
that-
our favorite Bible stories for
That's what we
movies.
gotta do going forward.
that sounds
Love it.
so much fun.
Well, do we want to end with like a quick fan cast of just a couple of the main characters from the Esther story?
Okay.
Ooh, I'm on the spot.
Xerxes. I don't know. You think Xerxes is old or is he like middle aged?
I think this is before things got pretty hot, like before he sails to Greece and everything.
Yeah, some sharp
Jason
hatchet
Statham.
face prick.
Not Jason Statham. No. It needs to be like one of those prissy British actors who's like the bad guy on a season of Downton Abbey.
Well,
Boy,
I feel like
this might
isn't
be
going
something we
as
have to
intended.
prepare for in advance.
Yeah.
We're sitting there going like, man, good thing we're not a movie podcast.
Now that's good radio.
I don't know that we're all well versed in enough actors. I'm not. Look, I don't think I have it in me to just like throw out actors' names on the spot. I struggled enough with Colin Hanks. Casey didn't even know who he was.
How about Michael Cera? That's just going to be my suggestion for everybody. Michael Cera as Mordecai, but like CGI him old. Michael Cera as
if
Esther.
Michael Cera, if he gets yoked, like I'll let him take a shot at it. I don't know. Why not?
He's just forever George Michael to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. But like, Matthew McConaughey went through his little renaissance. Who's to say Michael Cera couldn't too? They seem pretty equal.
Got to get that Jeff Bezos swell on. All right, folks. If you like the show, leave us a review wherever you listen to it and join our Discord. You can message us on Instagram. We'll send you a link to it. Jump on there. We're on all social media platforms except for Facebook because it sucks. I just made us a Hive.
You did. I was going to ask.
Hive's
are we
a
on
new
Hive?
thing.
All right.
Yeah, I haven't posted anything yet, but we're on Hive.
Well, Twitter's about to be destroyed, so
I know, maybe the timing's right. Maybe we could just rise to the top on the new platform Hive.
that's the hope.
Cue the Randy Savage soundbite. But the cream is going to rise. So, Hive it up, TikTok, you name it. Anyways, everybody, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.